Today our discussion is about fractions and the regions in which they occupy. We will discuss numerators, denominators, unit fractions, and regions. A brief discussion about the vocabulary of fractions. We've studied them since the beginning of the year. We've always graded our papers with fractions. So we know that a fraction is typically less than a whole. The numerator is the number above the line. The denominator is the number below the line. We'll also now discuss unit fractions, in which the numerator is always 1 and the denominator is the number of parts in the whole. As you know, fractions must be in equal parts. When we consider this first box of rectangles, we can see that the figures are divided in half. Now let's consider the regions. Half of the region is yellow. Half of the region is red. A unit fraction must always have 1 as a numerator. So the unit fraction for this first box is 1/2. In the second box, the rectangle is divided into 4 parts. We can see that 2 of the parts are yellow and 2 of the parts are red. So 2/4 of the fraction of the rectangle is yellow and 2/4 of the rectangle is red. The unit fraction is 1/4. A unit fraction always has 1 as the numerator, and these particular rectangles have 4 parts, so the unit fraction is 1/4. Let's try a few more examples. When we look at the first box, we see that the rectangle is divided into 3 parts. 1 part is red, 2 parts are yellow. So for the regions, the yellow part is 2/3. 2/3 of the rectangle is yellow. 1/3 of the rectangle is red. The unit fraction is 1/3 because a unit fraction must have 1 as the numerator, and this rectangle has 3 parts, so the unit fraction is 1/3. In the next box, we see the rectangle is divided into 5 parts. 3 of the parts are yellow, so this rectangle is 3/5 yellow. There are 2 sections of red. 2/5 of the rectangle is red. The unit fraction is 1/5 because the numerator must always be 1 and there are 5 parts. So the unit fraction is 1/5. Let's practice and try some fractions and regions on your own. Looking at the bottom, do you know what fractional part of this first rectangle is yellow? Count the total number of parts in the rectangle. You can see that there are 6 parts. How many of the parts are yellow? Yes, there are 4 yellow parts. So 4/6 of this fraction is yellow. You can also see that 2 of the parts are red. So 2/6 of this fraction is red. The unit fraction would be what? Yes, it would be 1/6. because a unit fraction always has 1 as the numerator and the number of parts as the denominator. So 1/6 is the unit fraction. Looking at the next rectangle, how many parts do you see? I hope you said 8 parts. How many of the parts are yellow? Yes, there are 5 yellow parts. So the region of yellow, the fraction would be, yes, 5/8. And that would then mean that the section or region of the fraction that is red would be, yes, 3/8. The unit fraction, with the numerator always being 1, what would that unit fraction be? If you said 1/8, you are absolutely correct. Well done. You know a lot about plane figures and shapes. This happens to be a circle, and the circle is divided into 4 parts. Similar to the rectangles, each part must be equal. On this circle, you can see that 1/4 of the region is orange. So the fraction for the orange section or region is 1/4. 3 of the 4 sections is green. So the region of green would be named 3/4. Once again, the unit fraction will have a 1 as the numerator, and the total number of sections as the denominator. The unit fraction for this circle is, if you said 1/4, you are correct. To review today's lesson, the numerator is above the line of a fraction. The denominator is below the line of the fraction. It's the total number of parts that are in the fraction. A unit fraction will always have 1 in the numerator position. The denominator will be the total number of parts in that fraction. If you look at the fractions that are displayed here, how many of the fractions might be unit fractions? If you said 3, well done. 1/4, 1/8, 1/12 would all be unit fractions. 7/9, 3/7, 9/10, and 5/6 would tell specific parts of a region. The numerators are the top number, and the denominators are the bottom number. They're below the line. So fractions, in review, are part of a whole. Fractions are typically less than 1 whole. We'll continue our lessons in fractions as the days go by. Good job, and review this video again if necessary.